Welcome to the Self-Care Show with Deidre Sanford. Although holistic and alternative healing methods are becoming more and more mainstream, what method is right for you? How do you find a practitioner once you've chosen to explore an alternative therapy? Each week, Deidre will explore a different modality with practitioners who will explain their modality and the benefits they and their clients have received through their sessions. She and her guests may also offer live readings during the show. Now, your host of the Self-Care Show, Deidre Sanford.
Well, and a fabulous February 1st Wednesday morning to all of you right here on WLTK-DB. It is 10:02. We're getting started and getting this show running for the day. I am so excited to bring today's guest back in. But first, I want to thank all of you for joining us each week so that we can all exchange ideas on whatever the topic is for the day. Today, we're going to be talking with Michelle Henderson about supporting or working with intuitive children. One of my thoughts and questions for all of you this morning is, who jumps out of bed on the first of every month and says, rabbit, rabbit, or rabbit, 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 or some variation thereof? I think it's interesting. This isn't something that, good morning. This isn't something that has been on my radar for an extremely long time. So it's still fairly new to me. And I was thinking this morning, I want to dig a little deeper and find out where this came from. What does rabbit, rabbit really mean? What does it do for all of us? And how did it start? And they're really not sure how it starts. I got to poking around on the internet. And one of the things I learned was that it wasn't until the early 1900s that we first saw written reference to this, what they're calling superstition. So in 1909, in an issue of the British journal Notes and Queries, it stated that a parent observed that children would say rabbits on the first of the month for good luck. And that's according to the History Channel. But it's also been said to be used by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The Nottingham Evening Post reported in 1935, even Mr. Roosevelt, the President of the United States, has confessed to a friend that he says rabbits on the first of every month. And what's more is, he said he wouldn't think of omitting the utterance on any account. It's super interesting that these superstitions or traditions, however we choose to look at them, survive all of these years. And even still, we go back as far as the 1900s, we don't really know exactly what started it all. But Nickelodeon, Nick Days by Nickelodeon, has been keeping it alive. And actress Sarah Jessica Parker has consistently posted rabbit, rabbit on Instagram on the first day of the month. They're saying that this actually came to be known because children would say rabbit on the first of the month for good luck. And that kind of brings us back around to our main topic of the day today. So everybody, if you haven't said rabbit, rabbit yet, from what I understand, it's supposed to be the first thing you say on the first of the morning. Okay, I blew that out of the water completely, right? But there's still hope for us who want to bring good luck to ourselves through superstition throughout the month, because apparently you can also say black rabbit on your way to bed to make up for not saying it first thing in the morning. Give it a shot. Let me know how it works. I have no idea, but I also have a bunch of friends who post rabbit, rabbit, or say rabbit, rabbit first thing in the morning on the first. Since the kids are reportedly the ones who started this, it brings us to today's topic. And that is working with an intuitive child, or our intuitive children, with today's guest, Michelle Henderson. Michelle has been on the show before. She's no stranger to the Self-Care Show here on WLTK-DB. She was kind enough to jump in and host the show during an absence I experienced back in December. She was already scheduled to be the guest, and I'm just like, hey, can you just jump in and run the show for me? So she handled it beautifully and did a live reading show for us that day. Her background is based in her master's degree in education. So she's worked as an educational teacher, an educational diagnostician, and a behavior analyst for 30 years. But in 2021, Michelle became a certified spiritual advisor with psychic and medium certificates through the Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development. So being a spiritual teacher, she enjoys teaching the knowledge, techniques, and tools to help guide others to be the best psychic medium that they can be. With the knowledge she obtained through her lifelong work with children, she became passionate about helping intuitive children to embrace their gifts. And Michelle also shares her innovative ideas with other lightworkers, giving them direction and supporting the families of intuitive children. Her book, Spiritual Nurturing for Intuitive Children, Training Parents to Embrace and Enhance Their Psychic Child's Abilities, was published on January 5th of 2022. And she also hosts her own live podcast, Michelle's Inspiration Hour, on which her guests share their inspirational life stories. So, Mike, let's bring Michelle Henderson full on into our show this morning. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning. First, I have to say rabbit. So
I guess
good
so.
luck
Yay! Good luck to you for the rest of the month and everyone else as well. Aspen, good morning. Thank you for popping in and letting us know that you're with us today. I do want to take a moment, especially with Michelle, to acknowledge and send prayers and thoughts of safety, warmth, comfort, and a well-stocked fridge to the southern areas of our country where everyone is just inundated with ice. Roads are impassable. Michelle, as I understand it, you guys are in the middle of an ice storm this morning where you are.
We are, but you know what? I am so grateful we have electricity, because
Yay!
last time this happened, our power went out for 2 days. And I got so cold.
I'll bet. Well,
And-
you guys don't have furnaces as we do up here in the north, right? Y'all are working on heat pumps.
Yes, and we just got rid of our fireplace because we never use it, and of course that happens. So I was about to go outside and make a little fire,
Right?
but it was way too cold.
A little bit
But
cold for
yes,
a
so I am
bonfire.
very grateful this time that we have electricity.
Good morning, Courtney. I'm grateful that you have electricity today, and I am once again grateful that you have graced us with your presence and
Thank
are
you.
so willing to share wonderful, amazing you and all of your information with our listeners and viewers this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. I am so excited about this conversation.
Me too. I got to tell you, you may have heard the stories, and Aspen or Courtney, you may have heard my stories as well, those of you who are listening. When I was about 7 years old, we had moved into a new house, and I said to my mother shortly thereafter, "Do you see those people in the dining room? They're not here to hurt us." What? Now, I give my mom a lot of credit because she didn't discredit what I was saying or what I was telling her I saw, but she also didn't know how to support it.
Right.
Just kind of accepted it and let it go as, probably child's imagination, which is not the worst thing in the world. So how different would my life be had I had different support through my younger years? So I think it's great and just so very necessary, the service that you provide when you talk with families, talk with parents about working with children who are showing their intuitive abilities.
Well, you know what? And I love your story because at least your mother listened. And
Yeah.
that is the number one thing I always tell the parents: listen to your child and not be afraid. Because a lot of people that I went through workshops with, we all had the same story, that we were totally shut down,
Mhm.
that our parents would say, we're not going to open that door.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had at least some support, even though they didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
They listened.
It's interesting to see the difference. And, I've been eyewitness to, and many of you listeners and viewers probably have as well, young children, 4 or 5 years old, maybe not even that old, would go into a friend's grandson would go into their family laundry room and carry on these conversations that his mother would hear from the other room. And he would say straight up, "No, I'm talking to this relative." And that mom had no idea, didn't get it, and kept telling this child that, "No, you can't possibly be talking to them.
Right.
You're making
Right.
this up." And because some of that goes back to the imaginary friends that we all had, or most of us had in childhood. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why a lot of people say, you know what? that's just your imagination. But the younger they are, it seems like the apparitions or what spirit shows us is a
Yeah.
true form.
Mhm.
And as we get older, that kind of changes. They don't have to show us the full form. We can just absolutely feel them being present.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it changes. But you're right. A lot of the family members will say, oh, that's just your imagination. Or, go out and go play.
Right. Here, get outside. Well,
Right.
come on. You're sending your child out in nature where the energies are and the vibrations
Yes,
are even
that's true.
different and more
That's true.
open. And,
Absolutely.
so now our kids are coming home with stories of fairies and gnomes, and, that just fits right in there with Grimm's fairy tales, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I
And
mean,
I
they had to
think,
come from somewhere.
yes, absolutely. And I had one parent that told me that his 3-year-old remembers seeing her parents when she was still up in heaven. She said, I could see y'all.
Yeah.
And she described an event that they went to the T. And he said, it's amazing. And he goes, I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to support her.
I love that this parent had you as a resource to speak
Yes.
with about these incidents and how to support his child. I've heard other stories. And I think it's becoming more prevalent for us to hear
Mhm.
these stories. I know Chris Fleming had the show Psychic Kids.
Mhm.
I do think it's becoming more prevalent, and that parents are starting to acknowledge that there's got to be something to these stories our children are telling us.
Oh,
I can't-
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're right. I think the more conversations that like what we're having today,
Mhm.
it will really help the kids because a lot of people may hear, little nuggets and they're going, you know what? There's more to it.
Right.
And I think it's always tell parents it is actually very spiritual. When your child is talking to spirit, it is actually a spiritual event, a
Oh,
gift
yeah.
that is happening.
And if you're an adult who doesn't acknowledge that these things can happen, or that maybe they happened to you as a child, it has to be so much more difficult to get on board with thinking that there's a remote possibility, there's some validity to your child's experiences.
Oh, absolutely. And oh, excuse me. And as they get older and they become teenagers,
Yeah.
and because I saw the acceptance that Courtney just wrote, and it just kind of reminded me as
Yeah.
they become teenagers, and if the parents don't accept that part of them, which is a part of them, then they start shutting it down and they become introverted. And then they start seeking the answers. Well, what is going on with me? And so they'll find groups of people that will accept them, and they're not the best groups,
Not always.
not so I think it's really important for us to listen and accept that part of them
Yeah.
because that way they can bloom and they can be creative and they can, become their own person. And that's so important.
It is key to any child's development in any respect. And I think also part of what would have been very beneficial for me was not just oh, okay, I'm not going, I can't see or hear what you're saying,
Mhm.
but helping me to develop some sort of relationship with it or acceptance of that as well. So not just helping them find appropriate support,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
finding some self-support and some self-acceptance as well. I would love, Courtney said she loves those words. And I did see Courtney's question. I just wanted us to get a little more information out about where we're headed with today. And before I highlighted that question, so thank you for bringing it up. I'm glad that you were grabbed onto that for us. I wanted to ask you before we get too much further into today's
Yeah.
conversation about your book that was published last January, Spiritual Nurturing for Intuitive Children, Training Parents to Embrace and Enhance Their Psychic Child's Abilities. I think that
Right.
sounds like something that would be super, super helpful for so many people.
And it's very interesting because whenever I first started writing, it's one of those things I was actually meditating
Uh-huh.
and it came to me and I'm thinking, you know what? I've always been an advocate for these children. So I thought I need to go ahead and help these parents because I was, as a behaviorist, I would go into the homes and do training with the parents, how to help their children with autism and develop a program. And so I thought, you know what? I could actually write a book the same way that I help parents of autistic children,
Yeah.
but with those intuitive children. And so I thought, enough training where, a light worker can come in, give a family some resources, some help, some assistance, some exercises that they can actually do with it, with their child, and then go away, because you don't want these parents to depend too much on you
Right.
and not actually try things on their own. And now what I'm hearing, a lot of parents are getting the book and they're going, I don't need you. And I'm going, well, good.
Right.
So they're able to pick up the book, because what I did is, of course, during COVID, I took all these workshops. That's actually when I decided to come out, and I thought that has to be a part of my life. And so I took all these workshops and I thought, you know what? I can actually put this in a treasure chest for children and for families, kind of put it down to a child's level. And they can do the same type of exercises, just a little bit lesser degree.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So you're not only empowering the parents to help their children, but
Right.
empowering children to help themselves and support
Mhm.
themselves.
Absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
amazing is that? I just kind of want to stand up and applaud. Thank you. Really?
Well, and and children are, so genuine.
Yes.
And then we kind of get the adults in the room and they start thinking, and that's where we get trained to think differently in society.
Mhm.
But if we empower these children, and a lot of children these days really are being empowered, more
Yeah.
empowered than I was when I was younger. They're going, I don't care what you think of me. So, which is awesome,
I think
because
we
they
all
can
need a
speak.
little bit more. I don't care what you think of me in our lives, right?
That's
More
exactly right.
opportunities, more
Yes.
opportunities to be our more authentic selves. And as these children continue to age and go through the systems of their choice,
Mhm.
self-perception gets stronger with the support, and then they're more able to bring some of these thoughts and ideas to a public forum, and they're really really going to help reshape our world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very interesting because in 1960s, Nancy Tape actually brought out the indigo children,
Yeah.
and where she was seeing the different purple, aura around these children. And they were here to help that generation, the warriors, because, everything was so conservative back then. But it seems like every generation we're getting closer and closer to where we need to be authentically.
I love that. I really do. And you're in a perfect seat to start seeing a lot more of that roll out.
Oh yeah, and they don't have to wait till, whenever I as a child, intuitive child, I could really feel what my friends were feeling. I was so sensitive. I cried all the time. I'd come home from school, slam my door, and my mother goes, "Oh, here she goes again."
Mhm.
And I could feel spirit in the room, especially at night. So a lot of
Oh
times I
my
couldn't
gosh,
sleep.
yes.
And then in my 20s is when they started like, okay, it's time, Michelle. And I'm going crazy. I'm hearing voices.
Mhm.
And that's when I thought I need to go and find somebody who is in this field, a psychic medium, who can actually walk me through. And the first thing she said is, you are not crazy.
It's amazing the people that spirit will put in our paths and give
Yes.
us the opportunity to align with. I was older than in my 20s. I was in my 30s, and I already had some inkling.
Mhm.
And I was working in an assisted living facility, and I had moved down to Arkansas, rented a house, and I just kept getting hit with these waves of emotion at work. And then I started realizing, oh, this family member will walk by, and all of a sudden, my emotional state changes. There was a lot going on at that time. And if it weren't for one of the women with whom I worked at that assisted living facility,
Mhm.
I really would have thought I was also losing my mind, because I was living in a haunted house. And I didn't know anything about living in a haunted house and that I'm a medium.
Right. Right.
So she would come to my house. I would go to her at work, and I'd be like, I don't understand what's going on. So she really helped me understand I wasn't losing my mind. I wasn't crazy. So the right people show up. And I'm so excited that you've been able to step forward and say, hey, I am one of those right people that can
Yes.
help you think, prevent you from thinking your child has lost his mind, or
Oh,
help those
absolutely.
younger children or younger people think that they're losing their minds as well.
And you know what I'm finding out, which is really awesome? These parents are going, you know what? I went through the same thing my child is going through. So they're finding out that they are also intuitive and psychic.
Mhm.
And they're going, okay, so, and I tell them, develop your skills with your child, do it together as a family.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of, I don't know, beneficial in that if the parents are waking up at the same time their children are, and they can walk the path together, how much of a deeper bond are they going
Absolutely.
to be able to establish as they travel this path together?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
not only are you helping develop the children and helping the parents develop along with their children, but giving everybody such a great path and it's such an amazing journey that they can share.
Oh, well, I certainly hope so because the parent has to say yes to it.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what
Oh,
I'm
that's
saying?
true.
It's like
That's true. But
so it
improving family relationships through common bonds is
right.
amazing.
And when you're doing it spiritually, I mean, that's you can't think of anything better than that. And because and also what came to mind is because our psychic abilities, our intuitiveness does change. You know, a lot of
Mhm,
people think, "Oh, I'm going to be able to tap in the same way every time."
mm-mm,
No,
mm-mm,
it changes because, like
mhm.
anything else. So, a child, a lot of times, as they get older, and then their friends start looking at it and they start questioning it,
Yeah,
this child does need the family support
yeah.
so that they can come home and say, you know what, my friend got scared today. How can I change the conversation? So the child might need to be guided on how to have a conversation with their friends.
And develop some discernment perhaps
Yes.
in we call a filter, if you will. And I
Yes.
don't even know if filter is fair,
Because,
but
you
develop
know,
some discernment.
in middle school, those kids are mean.
You think?
I mean, you know, and I mean, yeah, because I used to work in a middle school, and I'm just going, can't you just all get along? It's
No,
like, no.
no, not at that age. Mm-mm, not ready for that. There's also been some conversation, and I don't know if this is something that you would choose to speak to. Um, you're talking about how our abilities change.
Mhm.
And there's been some conversation. I think it's Joe Dispenza who talks about it more readily than maybe some of the others. The different brainwave states that we go through as we grow and mature into ourselves from delta to theta, et cetera, or
Mhm.
back,
Right,
And
right.
I think that's so interesting too.
And I think because you're using that part of your brain, and when we do use a different part of our brain, it
Mhm,
develops.
mhm.
And then we think mentally, we let it flow and we trust and we do those exercises, your brain is going to change.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So
And
I
so
do. I find that, yeah, I find that quite fascinating.
it's always,
Um, and that's when you have to find different teachers.
yeah,
Because, when you find one teacher that teaches you one way, it's always good to not stick with one teacher all the time, to
right.
find another teacher that can help you,
Well, and
develop whatever's happening.
I agree wholeheartedly. And since you
Yeah.
brought that up, and that is part of the theme of the show, I know we have more information to share with you and the things that you have going on, but for parents who are not necessarily close to you, how do they find someone with whom they can share their child's gifts that can help safely develop the child?
And, that's a wonderful, wonderful question. And I always tell parents, there are so many on Facebook, there are so many family groups with
Yeah.
intuitive children that you can go to and see who's on there, listen to their advice, And also go online. And sometimes it's just right down the road. You have a metaphysical store you can go to. And a lot of metaphysical stores will keep resources of psychic mediums in the area, or any light worker. It doesn't have to be a psychic medium. It can be any type of light worker that can help you. And they can
Right.
give you somebody. Just tell them what you're looking for, what your child is doing, and they can put you in that right direction. And follow that intuition as a parent. If you do not like that person, change, and
Yeah.
then once you feel like your child's learned what they need to, then move on. And a lot of times you don't need it all the time. Many parents only need to do a discovery call with me and they are done. They're going, okay, I'm ready. I can do this.
I
They
love that.
just,
Even
just
with
need
that
reassurance.
discovery call, they've gained
Yes.
some confidence just knowing that there's support as well. I
Right.
love that you also brought up, because that was my next question, is how do you vet anyone that you might trust to work with your child? And you really kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't know that there's a specific sequence or a specific list of questions for any of us to ask of anyone with whom we may choose to work, but follow your gut,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. Well, it's the same thing whenever you find a babysitter for your child. I always say follow your gut, because I had actually had one babysitter for my son, and I would take him to her house. And I had that feeling. I'm thinking there's something wrong here. So I showed up early one day, and yeah, not a good situation. He was on a garbage bag, okay, and on a crib that was trying to protect the mattress. He had spit up, so she took the sheet off and was washing it, and he was on top of a garbage bag. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm so glad I listened to my gut.
Yeah.
So anytime, and I think that we as women, we have that mama bear. Be that mama bear. If you have a child that's intuitive. Now, a lot of times intuitive children will have anxiety. Okay, that kind of goes hand in hand a little bit because they're so
Mhm.
emotional. So I would definitely find somebody that you can say, I'm going to be with my child whenever you meet with them, especially in the beginning. Okay, just so that they can see that relationship. As teenagers, I always tell parents that's hard. Meet one time with the parent, with the child and the parent and the light worker. And then, because a lot of times teenagers won't say what they need to unless the
Right.
parent is gone. But again, that parent needs to trust their child at that point anyway, but
Mhm.
trust their intuition, their gut feeling as well.
Yeah.
And, and it is because there's so many people that do things so differently. And you know that when you go to one
Sure.
psychic, they completely do it differently than another one. So, and find those people that are well known for their craft, just like
Mhm.
anything else. And not
Oh,
charging,
a bazillion
$500 per hour.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things I always talk about too, with as far as you say, charging and trying to find someone with whom you have comfort and confidence in doing work with, whether it be for your children or for yourself. That's one of the things I always say is, to
Mm.
me, most of us will give you 15 to 30 minutes as a consultative time, and
Mhm.
just to get to chat and get to know each other a little bit and to develop that rapport, or see if the rapport can be developed. If not, then it's probably not somebody you want to be spending money trying to work with, because you're not going to have that safety and comfort zone. Mike had brought up, as we were talking about children, the developmental stages and how things change.
Mhm.
Mike was also talking about neuroplasticity. So building that neuroplasticity with doing those exercises that you were speaking of earlier, is certainly something that would be, I think, foundational to a child's development.
Absolutely. I always tell them, first of all, start with breathing exercises and meditation. And the reason is when a child starts getting anxious over
Yeah,
something, you breathe through it. And
right.
that kind of opens you up and you're able to perceive it so much. But yes, the exercises really do help.
Absolutely. It's like, and we learn these things, those of us who don't step on the path.
Yes.
Hello, this is me. Don't step on that path and begin to, start the journey, start to understand. As we do that as adults, There's so much anxiety built up over our lifetime from these
Oh,
events that we
absolutely.
don't understand. We don't know
Yeah.
how to process the thoughts, ideas, voices, things we see, feel, and hear. It's crazy. So, yes, starting with those anxiety techniques is a fabulous jumping off point. I love that. We are going to take a super quick break here. A little station break to tell us some things about what else is going on right here at WLTK-DB. You are watching the Shelf Care Show. I'm your host, Deidre Sanford, and my guest today is Michelle Henderson, and we will be right back.
Certified psychic medium Stephanie Lynn creates an authentic connection between the living and the spirit world. Stephanie knows she is here to help heal, educate, and provide validation that there is more after death, and allows herself to be a conduit and work as a team with spirit to pass on messages from their world to ours. Stephanie Lynn also works as a spiritual life coach to help you achieve, create, and manifest your best self and life. Looking for help communicating with an animal? Searching for a past life regression therapist? Or dealing with a paranormal experience? Stephanie Lynn is here to help. For a list of full services, visit her on Facebook under Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive. That's Stephanie Lynn Spirit Sensitive.
And welcome back on Wednesday. Stephanie Lynn hosts her own show, Chat with Charlie, on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, do so. And if you can, like, we're all available on replays through YouTube and Podbean. If you miss episodes of our shows, we love to have you come in and get the information that our guests have to share at any point in time during those or through those websites, Podbean and YouTube. So we're talking today on the Self-Care Show with Michelle Henderson, whose background is education and educational diagnostics. Michelle is a psychic medium, and she is also an author. We've been talking quite a bit this morning about her release last year, Spiritual Nurturing for Intuitive Children, training parents to embrace and enhance their child's psychic abilities. Michelle also has her own podcast, but Michelle, I wanted to talk with you also a little bit today about a new book that you might be having come out soon.
What book would that be?
Did I completely misunderstand? I thought you had said you have a new book launch coming up.
Oh, well, no, but I do have a book in the writing.
Maybe
Yes,
that's where that came
yeah.
from.
So, and I think we had that conversation. It is totally different now. I wrote one book whenever I was working with children with autism. You know, how
Okay.
to teach social skills was my first book. But this one is more fictional because I'm always doing nonfiction books.
Awesome.
And it's a dream. It's based upon a dream that I had when I was younger. And it was one of those reoccurring dreams.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, and I thought, I've got to make that into a story. And so as I'm making it into a story, you know how you get those downloads again.
Yeah.
And information's coming in. And then right now, it's kind of like, I know it's time to stop for now until I get more information because there's something I have to learn first before I continue with the story.
How fascinating.
So yeah, so I'm going, so maybe you knew that. See, but I think we probably,
Hey.
but you're right. It's not ready for a book launch yet.
Okay.
But again, there's something, you know, I just know intuitively there's something I have to learn before I finish the book because I'm almost there.
I know you have a lot going on. And I've actually bumped into some people who've asked about how to help their children who are showing signs of developing abilities or having abilities and wanting to help them to develop those abilities. So you've got a workshop coming up, I believe, as well. Yeah.
I do. Okay, so in February. So this workshop it can be for parents, it can be for light workers. It doesn't have to be, just anybody in particular, anybody that wants to learn something extra. And we're going to walk through different exercises that you can actually do with an intuitive child so that you feel confident. You will get homework, so that you'll have to practice. And also we'll go over case studies. So it's kind of like everybody's going to have their own story to tell with everybody else. So it's not one that you're going to have to sit back and listen, to the teacher. You're going to actually have to participate. And what we'll do is we'll kind of brainstorm on in certain cases what you can do, because every case is so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I can give you the basics, but sometimes you'll get a case and you'll be going, I don't know what to do. So it's always good to find other sources so you can kind of pull it into that toolbox and widen that.
I love it. And I love that you're able to structure this in an informative yet interactive way.
Oh, me too.
And the people who will participate in your workshop can get information from each other and then try different techniques and come back and say, well, I tried that. This was the result. Who else has ideas that I might be able to incorporate into the living situation in my home?
Absolutely. And they may even teach me something totally different. So we may have somebody that's into different energy work than I am. And so maybe they can bring something up in that type of area and something I'd never thought about.
It's fun because I was just going to ask you, and you brought up energy work. I was just going to ask you what other modalities might be helpful for families with intuitive kids, or just for people in general who might be wanting to flex their own intuitive muscles a little bit.
Yes. And there again, I always say in yoga, I mean, to be able to really continue, you've got to know your body. You've got to know the energy. You feel your energy. You've got to really tap in to what is happening with you so you know where to look.
Right.
With somebody that is really feeling energy and wants to go more into the Reiki and that kind of energy work, yeah, you definitely need to find somebody that can help you in that area to improve. A lot of people think, you know what? You're born with that. You're fine. You don't need to really improve. You don't need to have a toolbox. It's like you can do so much more than what you're capable of doing. And people can bring that out with different exercises. So, and with me, when I was hearing those voices, I'm going, I don't know what that is, because I could actually hear them in the other room. And then they were speaking into me in my head. I'm going, I don't know what to do. And then the medium that I was working with actually walked me through. She said, you are in control. You don't have to let them control you.
Yeah.
And at any time, I mean, a lot of people think I'm reading them when I'm just having a conversation. I'm going, no, I turn it off. One, you haven't given me permission to read you yet.
Right.
And number two, you might have something that you don't want everybody to know about.
Right.
So I shut it down. I don't keep it going during the day because it will wear me out.
Oh my gosh. I would lose my mind. In fact, it's part of what was happening to me in Arkansas. I didn't know. I didn't understand. And I was just kind of wide open. I think I was testing the waters in reopening at that stage of the game for myself. And again, that anxiety that I don't know where to go. And I think it's the mystery that creates additional anxieties. I thought I was losing my mind, so I can't tell anyone else. If I tell a doctor, then the doctor's going to throw me on the mental health floor, and I don't want to go down that road.
Well, a lot of parents do take their kids to doctors, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Sometimes you need that, but sometimes you need to get a second opinion. But a lot of children that are hearing voices, they will be tested for schizophrenia,
Mhm.
because sometimes that runs in the family because, back then, a while ago, we
Right.
didn't know it could be mediumship.
Right.
So, and they did do some research and I found it fascinating where they had a psychic medium. They had several, testers, and then they would test people who were definitely tested for schizophrenia. And what they did is they did a comparison, and people with schizophrenia, they hear these voices and they're afraid of them. And these voices tell them to do evil things,
Right.
bad things, and may hurt themselves. Where a psychic medium looks at it more spiritually. And at first, I was trying to look at it spiritually. And again, I thought I was going crazy, but those voices weren't evil or anything. I was scaring myself.
Right.
They weren't trying to scare me. I had one, I was trying to watch a movie.
Right.
And they would start screaming at me, "Would you tell my granddaughter that she needs to change her life and to be happy?" And I said, "I will, but I'm going to watch this movie. So go away." And she did.
Yeah, learning that control, and I mean, it takes exercise.
Yes, it does. It really does. And it does take practice because I know when you're around a lot of, the workshop that we recently went to,
Yeah.
you can feel all this energy, but you have to visualize a wall around you. And you've got to say, right now, I need to be put in a bubble or I'm not going to make it through the day, because it
Oh
does
boy.
wear you out. Being around all that energy and trying to make sense of it, and you don't know what you're feeling, and you're feeling others, and you're hearing from other people. So that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, every once in a while, I'll not be paying attention and I'll
Mhm.
completely let that bubble go away. And
Yes.
I'm inundated and my brain gets more easily overwhelmed. In addition to the physical injury that I have that created brain
Oh,
injury,
right.
then my
Right.
brain goes into overwhelm. And I've learned though, and sometimes I forget and they have to show me again, that when I have an emotional reaction out of nowhere, like
Right.
the emotional state that I'm starting to go into has no relationship whatsoever to the events, conversations in my immediate vicinity, it's probably not mine.
Right. And that's
And
exactly, and that's very, very, very true. And somebody told me, this is not my idea. I love it for children because they are empath sensitives. They go
oh yeah,
out, they get, before they leave the house, tell them to put an astronaut suit on. And the astronaut suit will protect them. And I mean, of course, imagine it.
right. Right.
And the astronaut suit will protect them from all the energy that they feel so that they can feel their own feelings and not
Yes.
everybody else. And I thought, oh, I love that because that
Yeah.
is so childlike.
I think someone else we both know talks with her grandchildren, I think about her umbrella.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And I
Where
think
you're being protected.
yeah, I mean, and I think it's really cool because we're not necessarily saying bubble up. We're not saying
Right.
put your shields up. I mean, that was
Right.
what I was taught. Put your shield up. Okay, I get that.
Hmm.
But a child is going to be scared of thinking they need to have a shield. So I
Oh,
love that
right.
there are other things they can do. Specifically, like I love the astronaut suit
Yeah.
because what
Yeah.
kid
Have
doesn't
fun.
want to wear a costume, even an
Right.
imaginary costume?
Right.
And I actually get tickled. I know that when I was little and would go to the grocery store with my mom, there was no way that I could ever wear like my Halloween costume as regular daily wear to the grocery. But I love when I see families come through my store and the little girl is dressed like Elsa or the
Oh,
little
yes.
boy is wearing his Spider-Man PJs under his jacket. I just think it's fantastic that there are areas or families that will allow their children that much self-expression, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing I do tell the parents as well is get crayons out. If your child cannot explain what they're seeing, get them to draw. And sometimes though a 3-year-old, will draw a circle with little lines and you're going, "What the heck is that?"
Doesn't matter. It's out on
It does
paper.
exactly. And they'll be able to explain it at that point because it
Yeah.
is so concrete. And then ask them, "Well, why are you using that certain color?" So that they can understand that feelings and colors are one. So a lot of intuitiveness, a lot of psychic is so imaginative. That's how spirit speaks to us.
I love it. Melissa jumped in and she said she gets the best results from those pictures.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, it's almost like I always kind of compare it to art therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Once a child starts drawing or with us drinking wine, we relax a little bit, the child will relax as they're coloring and they're drawing and everything. And they'll start telling stories. And a teenager can actually write a story about it. And they can do it in third person. They don't have to say, this is what I experienced. They can put a different name to it.
Mm-hmm.
And puppets are a lot of fun because children will want to act it out using puppets. And so much fun. Just use your imagination. And that's kind of like listening to your child in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a whole additional aspect to that idea of acceptance.
Yes.
If I draw this picture and I draw this item, shape, representation of what I see in a specific color, and that color is acceptable, then maybe it will be okay for me to start talking about the colors I might see around people.
Right.
Because those colors don't always, the energetic colors that we see or work with don't always translate to the same things that we think of. Like when we see adults, we see red, we think fire truck, ketchup, cherry.
Oh, right.
What color is grape?
Mm-hmm.
It's purple. But in energetic platforms, in spiritual work, purple may represent something else.
Absolutely.
And that child can come to their own understanding of what their colors mean to them.
Yes.
I love that.
And, learning the chakras. I mean, a child can learn the chakra. I mean, it's like anything else. And talk about the different colors, the different music that they can listen to bring up those chakras, because each chakra has different frequencies. Mm-hmm. And color has different frequencies.
Right.
So they can talk about, so you can and children are going to soak all this up and feel very comfortable with it. And they may say, you know what? Today, my throat chakra is not feeling really good. I don't want to speak my truth. I don't want to speak to anybody. I need to work on that. So at least they know where the alignment where they need to work on.
Very cool.
Self-awareness. Yes.
Love it. And sometimes maybe not so much self-awareness.
Yeah.
Allowing yourself to just be open and be where you are.
Right.
What other tips and tricks do you have that you might want to share with us before we have to let everyone go today?
Again, just really, really listen to your child. If your child is experiencing these things, we've talked about the art. We talked about meditation. We talked about all these little exercises that you can. And I think as teenagers too, we tend to say, you know what? They cannot practice psychic. They're not ready for it. And a lot of 16-year-olds are ready. I mean, they're ready to work anywhere. Why not allow these 16-year-olds to work their craft, to do the healing? And of course, the parent will have to give permission for all of this. But why not allow them to do that? So again, just embrace as a parent where your child is, meet them where they are, let them express it. Don't push it, but yet just kind of nurture it along the way. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, find that spirituality. You've got to, have that spiritual say, you know what, this is what God is allowing. God is allowing us to do this. Mm-hmm. Don't let those movies scare you.
You taught them, you talked about the astronaut suit, our friend's umbrella. Is there anything else that you might consider working with children on to ensure that what they're accessing, encountering is, shall we say, right and true?
You mean
vibration?
Okay. Well, and that is one of the concerns of parents. Well, is my child is there evil presence going to come and try to, manipulate my child? And my answer is, it's all in the intention. Okay. Your child right now is love and light, and those love and light energies are going to come. if they start doing the Ouija board or they start, going, and I don't mean to put this down, but haunted houses and looking for earth spirits and bringing down their energy so that they can talk to these spirits, then they may, if teenagers especially bring that in.
That's a whole different
it is a whole different
protection, et cetera, that
yes,
would be one you're looking at.
And
that's a whole other specialty.
Yes, absolutely. Because you learn how to protect yourself. But a lot of teenagers will do it just, because I dare you to do it. But a younger child will not see those evil spirits because their light is so bright. Okay. And you can do the praying, you can do the protection. A lot of times children won't have a difficult time sleeping at night because they do feel the energy and they're not for sure about it because that's when they're open. They can sleep with a flashlight. You can get crystals. It's almost like a stuffed animal, get a crystal to protect them. Say, this is your protection, like superhero protection. Again, when you're saying protection, it's not to get away from these spirits. It's just so that they can feel like they are in control. And if they're not ready to play with the spirit or talk to the spirit, they can say, you do not come into my room. And they can sage too with an adult.
And that
yes, and that will make them feel like they are in control. And I've seen one more thing. Stop. I've seen parents also use sprays.
That's what I was going to say.
Sprays are much easier than sage, and it's Florida water, or they've got other different sprays, and you spray it and do, rituals, say a prayer, whatever you want to do. And that will really help the child say, yes, I'm in control.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say is, the bottles of, Monster Stay Away spray.
Yes.
For the children who are concerned about the monster under the closet or the monster under the bed is work with them and empower them to understand
absolutely.
They have that level of control.
It's the same idea. Same idea. Yeah.
I love that. So your workshop is starting at the end of this month. It's February already. Holy shit.
Yes. I think it's I should have looked before I came on, but I think it's around February 23rd.
Okay.
And we will meet on Zoom. It's online once a week for 6 weeks.
Love it.
Yeah.
And we mentioned your podcast. How do people find you if they want to come and pop in your podcast? I know you joined us in December and did some readings for our listeners and viewers. If somebody wanted to pop over and find you for that show or your podcast show, how would they find you?
Okay. Well, so on Facebook, of course, it's Michelle Henderson Medium. And I try every Sunday, but it doesn't work out that way. But Sunday at 7, I go live and do free readings, psychic readings, psychic medium readings. And then my podcast, I'm going live on Tuesday nights at 7. And you can find my podcast, Michelle's Inspiration Hour, and that's on Facebook. It's also on YouTube. And
Fantastic.
That's where you can watch it live, or you can watch it already recorded, like with your show.
Replays, baby.
Yeah.
I'm often miss things that I want to see in the evenings because I'm not available until about 8:30 at night. So you gave us the hours for your shows. What time zone are you in?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Central.
Central. Okay.
Central. Yes. I know with my Southern accent, people think I'm from all over, but I'm in Texas. So it's definitely Central.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for being here with us this morning, sharing all of your information. We've talked about your book, your podcast, your live reading show. It's just an absolute pleasure, as always, to have a chance to chat with you today. Thank you to everyone who tuned in to join us. If you want to share this with your friends, if you know people who have children that might be interested, the replay links will be available to you on the WLTK-DB.com page, on my website, on my Facebook page, and Michelle will have that information as well, and she'll be making that available to you guys. Michelle, I want to one more time wish you all the safety and warmth and coziness in the world today.
Oh, yes.
I will cross my fingers and pray my little heart out that your electricity stays on today and that you stay warm, as well as everyone else in the South that's experiencing these insane weather events. And I want to
Absolutely.
thank all of you one more time for coming in and joining us today. Mike Hatcher's backstage running our show for us. Thank you, Mike, for making sure everything goes smoothly today. And I am going to let y'all go. Don't forget, if you didn't say rabbit this morning, you can say black rabbit tonight. Good luck and good health to all of you through the month of February. This is Deidre Sanford with the Self-Care Show on WLTK-DB.com.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.